What's up, guys? Paul from Golfers Authority. Welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand podcast. We are on episode 80. That is crazy. This week I
Good.
have my good friend Adam Hollis from Glovelast. If you guys don't know what Glovelast is, it's a sick ass accessory you use that you like put your glove into and it makes sure it doesn't get all crinkly and like jacked up and like it's really cool. So I'm really excited to have Adam on the show today. So without further ado, how are you today, Adam?
I'm good, man. How are you, Paul?
I'm
Appreciate you having
good.
me on, man. Appreciate it.
So like I've met Adam kinda like a year ago, but we never really talked until about I don't know, like a month ago. And I was like trying to get a hold of this guy. He's so popular that I wasn't able
Yeah.
to.
That's
But
because I was, you mean because I'm an entrepreneur, so I was depressed and cuddled in the fetal position, not
yeah, watching
answering
golf.
emails and calls, watching golf. That's right.
Listening to
That's
like
right. No,
REM. Were you listening to REM too at the same time?
so good. Shiny,
When I
shiny, happy
no, like
people.
everybody hurts. Like I remember when I turned 40,
Everybody hurts. Yes.
I was in my law office and like my wife like put all these balloons in my office and shit, and so like I went in and it's all these balloons with happy birthday, and I just turned 40 and I was like, oh my god. And so then at like some point I just turned on like on my phone like everybody hurts from REM, and like and it was just the funniest thing 'cause my paralegal's like crying, she's laughing so hard, she's like, you're so depressed. I'm like, huh? I'm like, yep,
Are you a
40
Buffett
sucks.
fan?
No, are you?
Have you ever heard the song A Pirate Looks at 40"?
No, I should
Oh,
Google
you
it.
got
Is
to
it pretty
listen. You
funny?
got to listen. When you turn 40, that song needs to become a staple in your arsenal. Great
I feel
beach
like when you
song.
I
Good
feel like
beach
when you
music.
like turn 40, I don't know, I think in the last couple of years, just like you start realizing like time's going by really fast. Like you're like
Yeah.
you still think you're in high school, right?
Wait till you
You're
hit
like, oh,
50.
yeah, I don't know about that. Uh, well, then you start thinking like, oh, I'm gonna retire soon. Like my father-in-law just retired at like 70 or something, and I looked at him and I was like, oh, what are you gonna do? And he's like, oh, we're gonna do this and this, and I was like, yeah, right. And then, of course, they haven't done it, but I was like, I don't want to start my life at 70, right? Like I want to like do what I want to do now, not when
Yeah.
I'm like not being able to, like I'm out of shape or medical issues or whatever,
Right.
like
Right.
so gotta live life now, have fun. Um,
How many of your guests comment on that cool Arnold Palmer print behind you?
Probably like over half. I love that thing. I saw it. I don't know. It's on Etsy. Somebody painted that. It's not real. It's like print, but somebody actually found the picture and then did a stylish like painting of it. It wasn't that much
Yeah.
money, but I was like, I
I
saw that. I was
told
like, it was the coolest thing.
I told you, I think, did I tell you about the Palmer Nicholas, the one
Oh
called The
yeah,
Bet?
that picture you got where it's like, where I went and googled it. Right, it's where like
Yeah.
Nicholas is paying
It's just the
Palmer.
coolest. Yeah.
It's like a snapshot in time, right? Like it's almost like I don't know.
No,
That's what I love.
I think it's Arnie paying Jack. It's Arnie paying Jack.
I thought it was Jack paying Arnie.
That's
I
some
thought Arnie's sitting on the
scratch.
ground. I'm 40. You're 50, dude.
But
So
they
I
would,
have better
yeah, maybe
memory than
you're
you.
right.
The first
Should
thing to
grab
go
the
is your
photo.
memory.
Yeah, that is
Um,
such a great photo. The Bet.
yeah, it is because I didn't know it existed. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And that's what I love about golf, right? I guess like when people put like, why do you golf? There's like a million reasons why I golf. It's not like it changes every day. That's the best way I can say it. Like,
Yeah.
and I
And
think
every
like
round you'll see something or somebody will say something that you've never heard. You ever laugh more than you laugh when you're on the golf course?
no.
I mean, it's just
It's like
belly
therapy.
laugh.
You could be doing so bad, but it's still therapy. Like I think
Yeah.
as guys get older, it's like you miss hanging out with your friends, right? Like you did when you were 18s and you're in teens and then you're 20s. Because like once you start getting married and have kids and like the whole thing, like you don't hang out as much. And I think like when you
Right.
go golfing, you usually golf with at least one person you know. But have you ever noticed like by the end of that 18 holes, you're friends with the other two guys that you just
Oh, no
met.
doubt. Yeah.
Like that almost happens all the time, right? It's
Yeah.
never weird. Like I've never had that situation. Like I could be in the worst round of my entire life and we're still cool, and like people are buying beers for each other or like, hey, so let's exchange phone numbers, let's play again. I don't know. Like what
Right.
other
Like
sport does that ever
where
happen?
right. Where else could you go, right? You go with a buddy, you meet two other guys, You don't even know him. Maybe you just get paired together. And then 3 holes later, guy that you had just met goes, "Hey, I'm gonna get, I'm getting something from the cart. You guys want anything?"
Yeah,
And will just
right. Complete stranger.
like you couldn't walk into a restaurant and have somebody walk over to your table and go, "Hey, can I pick up your dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Can I buy you a couple of
Or you
drinks?
start
You guys
talking
want
crap to
dessert?"
each other, right? You start talking crap to guys you don't even know. Like, I mean, I
the
guess if you're in
the
there's,
first green, it's respectful. I feel like it's respectful off the first tee, right? Everybody's just trying to like, okay, how
feel
far
each
does
other
he hit
out.
it?
It's like, oh,
Yeah,
who's alpha dog, right? You know, like
does he hit
who's
it
the good
straight?
one here,
Yeah.
right? And nobody wants to hit it into the street or the houses, right? They're just like, oh, please get in the fairway. Just please get in the fairway.
And I
Oh, and
feel
like, oh
like
no,
by the
I'm not gonna
time
use my driver. I'm gonna use my iron, right? Like, I'm gonna use my 5 iron,
it's not
right?
going to be
Like
in play.
I've done that a lot too.
Yeah,
Just
I'll
kind of
hit a
like a
little.
badass.
Yeah, no, I won't even go to the iron if I'm. I'll maybe hit like a 5 wood or a 3 wood and just try and hit a little cut and hopefully find the grass. Who cares how far it is?
So I took
Just
my
get it
score
get it
yesterday.
in play.
I played on. This is actually really cool. So on Sunday I played uh at an so out in Arizona there's Luke Air Force Base, right? And they have their own course. And it's actually really nice. But the only way you can get on is if you're like veteran or active military, essentially, right? You come as a
Okay,
guest, right? But like if
right.
you book it, so that was really cool. But it's like a hour drive from my house. So I go there. I played like crap, but I really kept my score, and I was like, well, I'm not as bad as I thought I was, right? Number one, but like I'm jonesing to go back out. I'm gonna try to go back out later today. Like, go like I'm almost on literally I'm on a mission now. Is like I want to get my real handicap, and I want to be like, this is it. This is where I'm at, everybody. I'm just like you. I'm full of shit, and I don't like hitting the 80s like I used to, right? And then be
Yeah,
like, okay, everything I do after that is gonna be like me getting better, essentially. Um,
yeah.
but
Where is this course? What town?
it's in like Glendale, Waddell. I don't know how you say it. It's like
Yeah,
right next to the Air Force Base, and this Air Force Base has like it was Sunday, so it was quiet, but like they always
yeah.
pictures of this course, and there's like F-22s and shit like flying over the course and like doing like touch and goes and stuff
So
like
you have
that.
to be guest of military or retired military
I think
as
the person who
well. But
books has to be a veteran or an active military person, in some sort. I think it's semi-private. I don't know. There was lots of retired people there, but you
yeah,
could just tell it's a military. It's not on the base. It's right next to the base,
hmm
but you could tell. That was the guy I was playing with. I said, I love playing with military people. Like they're just like so nice and like
yeah.
polite and like yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am. Like I don't know. It was just really cool. I don't know. I had a good time.
What would you
Maybe I
say if
will.
somebody stepped on your line and you had like an 8 footer for birdie?
I'd probably make it. I'd probably get lucky on that. I wouldn't even care. I don't even care.
You're like, you just
I
stepped
mean,
on my
honestly,
line.
I'm not that good to care enough about it, right? Because I already shanked
Yeah.
one ball into the like. I hit this one shot. I was literally like 60 yards from the green, right? It was open fairway, and there's this little lake to the left, right? Like not even in my line, and then somehow I managed to hit it in the lake. Like I hit it like 5 feet, and it rolled down the hill into the lake, and I lost my ball. Like that's where I was at on Sunday. So I would, if
Yeah.
I don't know. Looking at my score, I was kind of thinking like my buddy showed me a way of like keeping score so you can kind of like see like where you're messing up at, right? And I was like, okay, I need to work on my driver because like I have lost a ton of balls because of that. But I don't know, it
Right.
was
Not in
fun.
the fairway. How many putts you're taking?
Yeah, like, I
Yeah.
want to know that. I
All
want to know
that
where
stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
struggling. The other thing is
Yeah.
too is I got new clubs, and so that's the first time I played with my new clubs that were fitted, but they're longer than my old clubs. So now essentially I have to like reteach myself how to swing because everything's just different, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just not the right. I mean, it's the right length now, but so I mean, I don't know, not good, but it's fun. So who cares about Paul? This is about Paul's show. This is the Adam Hollis show.
I care about golf.
Nah, it's all right. At least somebody cares about me.
You're an
All right, so
interesting
here's the
guy.
story. I know some stuff about Adam already because we talked like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I thought he was full of it. I didn't think he was full of it. I was like, seriously, that's true. Um,
No, you're among a large swath of people that think I'm
I,
full of it.
including
Trust
your
me.
wife.
No doubt.
So I googled like what he, I like I didn't Google him, but like I went in and I was like, seriously? And he's like, oh yeah, I did this. And so I was fascinated by it. So let's start from the beginning. You're not a professional golfer, right? You think you are, but you're not. He's just laughing.
No, Paul, seriously, for as many rounds as I've played in my life, I may be the worst golfer on the planet. For as much as I've played, I may be the worst.
I might be right behind you then.
And I'm trending in the wrong direction.
So did you like grow up playing golf, like with your family, with your dad or grandparents, like anything, or like what?
My dad didn't play. Now my dad lives out in Arizona now and plays a bunch,
It was
and
in
works.
Mesa, right?
He does, and he
So when you
works
come
at a
visit him,
golf
we can
course.
hang out.
Absolutely. I want to go to the waste management badly. I want to be in the stadium, baby.
I've been there.
That's on my bucket list. But yeah, no, I just had some friends that played. You know, I played football and basketball and baseball and all that stuff. And then there was a cool
Where'd
little
you grow up
9-hole
at?
golf course, Long Island, Huntington, Long
And
Island.
so then you grew up in Long Island, just kind of playing like
Yeah,
everybody else, right? Like I just played for fun. I played with my dad. He pissed me
yeah,
off because he'd be like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong," and then I'd be like, "Whatever." Like yesterday, my dad comes in over yesterday. He's like, "Oh, I figured out a new way of training, blah blah blah," and I was like, "Oh Jesus, here we go." And so
yeah,
then he like shows it to me. He's like, "All right, now you try it." And I tried like one time. He started yelling at me. I'm like, "All right, I'm done. You can leave." I'm not, like I don't want to do your dumb new
yeah.
invention method, but
When I started playing more when I was in college, and then I would come home, and I worked at as a bar back, you know, with a bunch of my buddies from high school at this bar in Huntington, and you know, it would close, and we would go to Bethpage and do the get in line, you know, uh, did the sleep in the car thing a million times. Uh, we usually
the reason
played
why we play, right? The fun
the
of it, like
re
the
the, we
stories.
love I love the red and the blue golf course at Bethpage. You know, played the black a bunch of times, but I mean that thing. Well, all the courses ate me up, but I always loved the Bethpage red. That was always the course I loved the most. I don't know why. It just, you know, I just kind of liked it. The black was always tough. The black was always tough. Um, you know, they didn't cut the rough. And, you know, this is long before it became a tour stop. You know, it was long before. I mean, I think the only professional tournament it was like some beer open or something like that. I don't know if it was like the Schlitz Open or Pabst Blue Ribbon Open or something like that, but it had a lot of amateur. So that's when I started playing really, you know, when I was in college and, you know, had a couple
Where'd you
of
go to
buddies.
college?
Albany in New York.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What did you do in college? Like, what did you major in?
Communications. Can't you tell?
Did you do last speeches? I took a communications class in college. It was hilarious because my
Did you
teacher.
ever do Toastmasters?
No,
The
my dad was a
Toastmasters.
Toastmaster though, dude. It
I
like
did. I did a couple of those.
he was like in it for a. I remember in the '80s, like he was like the president of his chapter and like.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good. My dad's really good at talking and
So
like
he
it.
passed that along. He gave you that gift. Look at that. He
No,
gave you that gift.
that's survival right there, man. That's not. There's no gift.
Survival.
That's survival, like being an only child. That's like, what?
Right.
So you grew up in Long Island. You went to
Yeah.
Albany for undergrad, and then
Yeah.
out of college, what'd you do? Like, what was your first job?
So I had a job at at an advertising firm in New York.
When was
And
this? In
then
the '90s? In the '80s?
oh yeah, 90s. Then moved to Chicago, um, and started. That was when I started thinking about lived with a couple of buddies, and that is when I started to think about coaching football. And that's kind of when I started coaching football. I was, you know, had just kind of different jobs and worked as a runner on the Chicago Board of Options Exchange for a little bit.
Were
And
you married
then
yet or no?
no, no,
But you're living in
and
Chicago, like making good money and like
oh,
living the
I wasn't
Chicago
making
life.
good money. I wasn't
Really?
making no, no. I was a runner.
Terrible.
I like run and get the things and
Tickets.
bring them back. The tickets, bring them back, the trade tickets. And that's when I started coaching football. So my first job was at a Division III school.
How'd you get
On
that job? Like, what qualifications did you have to get that job?
I didn't not much other than a willingness to try and
Learn.
learn. Played football, so I knew football a little bit, and just wanted to do it. And so, this guy, he actually didn't hire me. His name is Jim Brown, but spelled Braun. Great guy, and he had an opening for like an assistant defensive backfield coach, DB's coach, and the he offered it to somebody else. He called me, told me he offered it to somebody else, and then a couple weeks later, that guy turned it, found another job and left. And so he called me, and I said, "I'll take it." It was $6,000
For the season?
Yeah.
Or a month?
For the year.
Shut up. Not for the whole year.
For the year.
The school year. Or the whole
year. Yeah, through recruiting.
So that was not your full-time job, unless you were living in like a trailer or something.
No, I was just doing other at that point. Then I started doing other odd jobs.
Just random stuff, right?
I painted houses. I did whatever. Yeah. And
so
then
how old were you when this was going on?
Oh man, I was in my late 20s, mid 20s, late 20s. So then I got a job at the University of Chicago, and that job paid me a little bit more, and it had kind of a stipend for housing. So then that was pretty cool. They do. The University of Chicago, I'm going to see if I can get this right, okay? They dropped football. It's an amazing story. Like, that's Amos Alonzo Stagg. That's like the start of football, right? It's Chicago, Michigan, Stanford, those are and then like Carnegie Mellon, and just those are like the big back then. I'm talking about like early 1900s, right? So they had this coach, Amos Alonzo Stagg. Theodore Roosevelt, the president, is trying to get rid of college football, and so they have to come up with something. And Stagg had been practicing the forward pass at the University of Chicago. And he's, there's only a handful of college football teams at this point, it's Princeton and Rutgers and Michigan and blah, blah, blah. And he comes to the rules committee with the forward pass. And he says, I think this is how we can have less people die, because guys were dying playing football, dying. So it's an amazing story. And so the forward pass saves football. Well, then the University of Chicago, most of their great teams, those weren't students at the University of Chicago. It wasn't like the student athletes that we know today that like go to class and, are at the school. They would train these guys in from all over the place to just play and represent the University of Chicago. In fact, I think the first ever All-American from the University of Chicago is a guy by the name of Walter Eckersall. I believe he never even stepped foot on the campus other than to play football.
He was just an athlete.
He was just, yeah. And so, then the University of Chicago got a new president. They had all these different things going on. They had players that weren't going to the school, and he drops football. He said football is antithetical to the mission of what a college or what a university is supposed to be. And then they brought it back in like the late 70s. So the guy I worked for there that hired me in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, guy by the name of Dick Maloney. He had been, at the University of Pennsylvania as the offensive coordinator. He was in the Canadian Football League for a while. Then he came back and took the Chicago job, and he hired me, and it was a lot of fun. And, Division III football, some of the smartest people you'll ever be around. I mean, these kids were brilliant. It was amazing just to be around them.
I didn't even know University of Chicago had a team, though.
Well, yeah, the Maroons, baby. The monsters of it. They were, okay, Paul, listen, they were you know how the Bears are known as the monsters of the Midway? The University of Chicago, they were the monsters of the Midway before the Bears were even around. before
Really?
professional
I
football
never knew
existed.
any of this. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I went to Purdue for undergrad, and like we're the Boilermakers, right? So like,
Right.
what's a Boilermaker? I had no idea what that was. And so then like
Isn't it
I
a drink?
no, well, yes, that too. But like the story is that the Purdue football team in like the 1870s or something,
Yeah.
like went and hired. There's a city just north of Lafayette called I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, Warsaw, right? And like I
Warsaw.
guess
Yeah.
they, and so I guess they made trains there, right? And they made
Okay.
boilers for the train, like steel, like, locomotive. And so
Yeah.
what the Purdue football team was taking the guys from there, these big buff huge dudes making trains, and made them part of the football team. And so then when we started beating everybody, they started calling us the Boilermakers because of the put down, right? Like, oh, like we're kind of like
Right.
low
They're not
class,
Purdue
right?
students. Right.
And so
Yeah.
like we're like, that's right, that's who we are, and that's how we got our names. That's why our guy is
Yeah.
Purdue Pete with the big hammer, right? Like, which I think is just like fascinating because it's like, I don't know, it's like a real reason, not like, oh, we're the birds, right, or something.
Hey, let me ask you a question. At Purdue, is there like a big bus system that goes around the campus at West Lafayette because it's so big?
Yeah.
So there was a guy I coached with, and he played at Purdue, I guess Joe Tiller days,
I thought I was
and
there.
yeah, yeah, and was a walk-on wide receiver,
What was his
and
name?
went Chad Brown. He went back to be a graduate assistant there, and he was running some stuff across campus, and a couple of the coaches were jogging, and he looked over because he wasn't paying attention, and here came a bus, and he like jumped up, and the bus hit him, and hammered the brakes, but they nicknamed him Bug because it was like a bug
Oh, because he's like all
scratching
against the
on the
glass.
way. So that's my intro to Purdue.
Oh yeah, I was at Purdue like late '90s, so I was there when like
Hmm.
like Joe Tiller got hired my junior year. No, my freshman year.
And
My freshman year.
he came and cranked it up and made football fun, didn't he?
And then he got Drew Brees. So like
Yeah.
Drew Brees was in my psychology class my sophomore year, but he was a redshirt freshman, so he wasn't like
Yeah.
nobody, right? He's nice.
There was another quarterback before Breeze that was drafted
I can't think of his name. Oh,
pretty high.
the last like good quarterback before Brees was Jim Everett. Like
Jim
that,
Everett. Yeah.
like it was crazy because like we were good in like 1980 something, right? And then
Yeah.
the last one we were good before that was 1960 something, and that's when we had what's that dude's name? His son was a caster. Oh crap, Bob Greasy was our quarterback
Bob
before
Greasy.
that. Remember him?
Yeah.
Like
You got some
like for a long
NFL
time.
Hall of Fame. That's an NFL
Yeah,
Hall of Famers right there.
I know it's crazy. So I was there when Purdue was good. Like, well, Purdue was we were shitty my freshman year, and my sophomore year we got good, and we like started beating teams that would destroy us. And like the first game we actually really won was against Notre Dame, and we went crazy because we hadn't
Yeah.
beaten Notre Dame in like 19 years or something crazy like that, and we beat
Right.
them, and then we threw our goalpost in the river. I remember that. And so then, but then after, like, that was the best times. What we used to do is like you could get a Coke or Coca-Cola or something at the game. It's called the Tiller Chiller. So it was like a big glass, a big straw in it, right? So we'd hide like you know Jim Beam or like something
Jack
into it.
Daniels,
And yeah,
whatever.
Jack
Yeah.
Daniel. We'd bring
Yeah.
these Boda bags, right? Those like mountain band bags,
Oh
and we'd
yeah.
like
Yeah.
push it up against our butt or something like that. So when we got frisked, when we got in, you wouldn't feel it. And then we'd
Right.
fill that whole thing, the whole Tiller Chiller. I'll never forget that, like with like alcohol. Best
Oh
times,
yeah.
man. And they went to the
Yeah.
Rose Bowl. They went to the Rose Bowl in '90 or 2000 Rose Bowl for the first time, and we lost to Washington, which really sucked ass. But that was a good. I
Did you
went to
go
that
out
game
to the
too.
Rose Bowl for the game?
Yeah, like my fraternity brothers had flown out here, and then about 6 of us drove to L.A. And then another fraternity brother, he lived in L.A. His family did, so we stayed with them, and we like did the whole thing. It was the best trip ever, man. It was like
Yeah.
just out
Did
of
you go to
college. I
the
was so
parade?
skinny. No, we missed the parade
I wonder why.
because I'm not a 100-year-old lady that and with a bunch of kids. I went to Disneyland though. I'll say I went to Disneyland.
That's
But I
cool.
knew a lot of the guys on the team. Like when I lived at Purdue, like well, I lived off campus my senior year, so like I like my apartment building area, there was like a bunch of guys on the team, and my next door neighbors were on the team, and so I became good friends
Yeah.
with those guys. So it was really cool to like I knew these guys. I was like excited for them, and like they all
Yeah.
worked their asses off, and
Oh,
But like that year, I
yeah.
think in 2000, like half our team got drafted, right? Like, um, I remember like there's a guy who played for um the Patriots, Matt Light. He was a lineman, and like
Yeah.
I remember when he got drafted because he was like like a first or second round draft.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
remember I saw him the next day on campus, and he was like all decked out in Patriots gear from like head to toe, right? And it was really cool to see that. But football story. So you go to the University of
He was
Chicago.
he was about to get paid.
Oh, he got paid big time, right? Because he was
Oh,
there for
yeah.
all the Super Bowl, and now he's like
Oh, yeah.
buku rich.
Yeah.
Because he was there for all the Super Bowls.
So I
Um,
go from Chicago to the University of Rhode Island.
so how long were you in Chicago for?
2 years.
Okay, and
And
you
I
go to
go to
Rhode
the
Island.
University of Rhode Island, and I coach running backs there. Um, around a lot of really, really good coaches. It's fantastic. I meet my wife. It's good stuff. Um, and no time for golf. That's the one thing about coaching, college football, high school football, whatever. You just don't have a lot of time to play golf. But there were a couple of really nice golf courses there around the area. But I go to the University of Rhode Island, and I'm there for 2 years. Meet my wife, and it was really, just around some good coaches like Pat Narduzzi's the head coach at Pitt was there. Just good coaches. Worked
Good
for a
dudes.
great guy. Worked for a great guy, Floyd Keith, one of the funniest human beings ever. Um, and and then went from Rhode Island to Dartmouth, and I was there for 9 years, and then went
Like
from
it's
Dartmouth.
like every school is like another step up, right? Like
Yeah.
essentially, like
So I go from Rhode Island to Dartmouth. So now I'm up the East Coast, and then finished up my career. Didn't know I was going to finish up my career, but I get hired at Princeton, and I go to Princeton and end up coaching offensive line there, and a lot of the guys,
dang.
the guy that was the offensive coordinator at Dartmouth when I was at Dartmouth in the first couple of years became the head coach at Princeton. Um, and then I eventually talked my way into him hiring me. So I ended up at Princeton, and then kind of middle of the night, kind of a weird deal. We didn't think we were, in trouble, at least not that year. And athletic director decided he was going to make a change, so got fired, and my wife and I moved from Central Jersey. We stayed with her folks in Pittsburgh for a couple months, and then we rented a house down here in Nashville, and that was in June of 2010, and never left. It's like
Wait, so is that what it's
I
like with
wasn't
the
planning on getting out of coaching. It just kind of happened.
yeah? Because like, what do you do when that happens, right? Like, you have to go find another job, and we're have to go
Mm-hmm.
move somewhere else, and now you got to do like it's probably like not. I mean, not. It's probably more than just debilitating. It's more like, do I really want to do this again? And like, because it's gonna rinse and repeat, right? Like, I mean, you only have so much success for so long, and there's
Right,
gonna be a change in the guard, or the athletic director move. He leaves, and now like, I want to bring in all my people, and it's like,
right,
I mean, it's like the
right.
NFL, right? It's like, what do they call it Sunday when everyone gets fired, or that
Yeah,
Monday? It's
Black
like
Monday, Black Monday.
Black Monday.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's you feel like when you're coaching, um, you feel like you're in a constant state of networking, which has kind of served me well as an entrepreneur. But you're almost always like, hey, not sure what's going on here, or I don't think I'm going to get promoted, so or I'd like to go make some more money, or my wife's from this area. I'd kind of like to coach in that part of the country. So you're always kind of networking and looking just in case it happens. In case you get fired, like you're saying, the athletic director, new AD comes in, new president comes in, whatever it is, you're not winning enough games. You're not doing it the right way. Your kids aren't graduating. It could be a million different reasons
Yeah,
why
there's only so much
staff
you can
gets like,
control. Right? You've only
yeah,
got control this much of what's happening, and that's what's happening on the field during
yeah,
like that's it, right? So it's like
yeah,
everything else. It's like
but
You can do the
I
best
loved
you
my time at
can.
Princeton. I had no irons in the fire. I had very limited options when it happened. We were pretty we were pretty taken aback.
Blindsided.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were
yeah,
blindsided. You weren't like expecting
yeah.
it.
So come down here and, planning on getting back into coaching, and we just kind of get out of the Jersey area and decided we wanted to live in a new place. And my girls turned 4 and 2 years old here,
Time for a
and
change.
realized how much I loved being around them and just being home for dinner and, you know, tubby
And
time and
away
reading
games, and you're
bedtime
not. Yeah,
stories. Yeah,
they're your
you're not,
the
and
team is no longer the family, right? It's
that's right.
like you
Yeah,
have a family. It's not like, you know,
right.
is it, what's the value of sacrificing that, right? Like, because you only have 18 years, and it's like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And the soul searching I had to do, and I don't want to make it seem like I, sat up, smoking cigars and drinking scotch, staring at the blue sky, thinking about it. But, what I had to decide was what was going to be, was I going to be identified by who I am or what I did? Um, you know, and so a lot of, I
that's
think
a very
people,
big question that a lot of people like. I feel like in relation to that, it's like I feel like the first half of your life, you're trying to chase money, you're trying to chase prestige, you're trying to chase title, whatever it is, and then you come to a realization that's all bullshit. Like
yeah.
that none of that matters at the end of the day, right? Like
So, so a guy I shared an office with, okay, at Dartmouth. Well, I was with him at Dartmouth, and I was with him at Princeton's. He's one of my best friends, mentor. He has this theory about coaching, and he says there's three stages of coaching. The first is the idealistic stage. You start coaching college football, and you're like, I love this. I love being on the grass. I love watching film. I love game planning. You love all that. And I could do this forever for free. I love it that much. And he said, and then you graduate from the idealistic stage into the ego stage. And you start looking around and you're like, well, wait a minute. He's making $55,000 as the wide receiver coach over there. I'm a better coach than him. He's making 75 grand as the coordinator at that school. I'm a better coach than that guy. So you go from idealistic to the ego stage. Um, and then there's the last stage, which is the mercenary stage. Show me the money. So then you get to the point where you don't care if you're coaching the long snapper and the right guard. As long as you're getting paid, you don't care. And so you can actually see it. Like you could look at bios of, college football or professional football coaching staffs, and you can kind of see like, oh, that guy's in the idealistic stage. That guy's in the ego stage. That guy there, he's in the mercenary stage. So it was good to always, kind of have that perspective. And
so
I went from one stage to the other, and I can see it, and I
yeah,
can tell you
but
when
when
it
you
happened.
left football, what stage do you think you're in?
Oh, I was in the
Ooh,
ego stage.
because you've done it for so long, you're at a
I,
prestigious
I was in the I
school.
wasn't quite in the mercenary stage because I wanted to become a head coach. That's why I like being an entrepreneur. That's why I love the fact that what I do with Glovelast, because it gives me the opportunity to be a head coach that I never got in football.
You're a coach of yourself,
I
right? I
coached I
mean,
coached I
and your
coached the
team.
team. Yeah,
Yeah, your team, whatever that
yeah,
might be, right? Like
that's right. Yeah.
that's a good analogy. Um,
So in
so
that
you
sense, the
you leave
coaching is there.
football and you
Yeah,
move to Tennessee. You packed up
yeah,
the truck and you moved to Tennessee.
basically, yeah. Uh-huh.
Hills there is. And what? When did you start thinking about Glove Last, like your idea?
So I had a kind of a regular group of guys that I played with. So sometime in like 2013, we had been here for about 3 years. I was a sales guy for a high school sports streaming company. And, I went out. I can tell you exactly when it happened. We had a tea time on Saturday morning, bunch of guys that I had started playing with pretty regularly. I did the trip over to Golf Galaxy, bought the dozen Titleist Pro Vs. I bought some tees, and I bought a new FootJoy golf glove. and, went back, marked up the balls the way I wanted them. I was, super jacked. It's going to be a nice Saturday. We're going to go play. And, Velcroed the glove to my strap on my back. So get to the driving range the next morning and can't find the glove. So, where's my new glove? Just paid whatever, $30 for it the night before. So I get in the car and I don't even warm up because I like retraced my steps. Maybe it came off, when I checked in at the pro shop or whatever. I can't find the glove. So it's our turn to tee off. And I go to the first tee and I pull out this stinky, crinkly, nasty glove that I wasn't planning on using out of my bag, but at least I had something. And I'm rubbing it in the dew and I'm spitting on it, trying to get it ready. So that's when I had the idea. It was like halfway through that round because I had to buy one at the turn because I poked a hole through that one because it was, dry and whatever. And everybody knows that crinkly, stiff glove stinks.
Yeah, nobody likes it. You can't do shit with it.
Nobody likes it. So, so that's kind of when I came up with the idea. And then after that round, I was like, oh man, there should be something that I could have kept this glove a little better longer. Like if I didn't just jam it into the bag or whatever, I would have probably been able to play with it. And so I really, didn't find anything that I thought was really good. They had this one like plastic hand kind of shaper that's kind of flat. I think they call it the glove shaper or something. I should. It's my competitor. I should. It's the glove shaper, and so that's when I started That's when I had the idea, and then I talked about it for another 2 years, and my wife finally said, "Stop talk. Either do it or stop talking about it. Just I don't want to hear about it anymore. What a great idea you think this can be. This, this, shoe tree for your glove. This hand tree idea. Just either do it or don't." So I started doing it. And then we kind of launched it in 2017, 2018. Long process, getting the injection molding, getting it designed. And the good fortune that I ran into throughout the process, I wish that on any entrepreneur, that they could have, the sequence of events that happen for me to get a product that is, that's on market right now.
It's about timing too, right? Like what you were saying when we talked the first time, like just things were happening for a reason, right? Like the connections you would make would like bridge that gap, and then the next connection you made bridge that gap, and it's like, it's not a
Yeah.
straight arrow, but it's like what times when I wouldn't call it adversity, but like having to like figure it out, right? Like that things just work out, like
Yeah.
when you just put it out there and you try to, like you were saying, like when you did the initial prototype, right? Like finding the right people to help you. Like what are the odds of that, right? Essentially,
Right.
like
Yeah, I'm at the entrepreneurial center in Nashville one day, and guy sees me futzing around on a 3D printer, and he's like, "Hey, what are you trying to do?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm trying to make a prototype of this." He's like, "Oh, what is that?" And I said, "Well, I call it Glovelast, but it really isn't anything yet, and it's going to be like for your gloves, for your golf glove." And he was like, "Oh, that's a good idea. That doesn't exist right now." I said, "No, not really. Not in the shape of a hand. It doesn't." And he's like, "Well, my company does that." Really? And they ended up being the people that designed the product that's on the market today.
yeah, it's
Just
crazy.
bumped into them. Yeah,
It's
it's
like
nuts.
that happens a lot too. Is like I think when you put it out there and you're doing it, like you don't know when it's gonna hit, right? Like you just don't like in your mind, you hope and pray, and you're like, I think I'm doing the right thing. I think it's gonna hit at some point, but you never know when that's gonna be, right? But you
No,
don't know who you talk to and be like, oh, I know that guy,
yeah.
or I mean
I
that's what
love
I've
that
always found
phrase
so.
too. Put it out there, right? Like just let people know kind of, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm trying to do. Just like be about what you're trying to get accomplished. It's a great little phrase, right? Just put it out there.
Just put it out there. I mean, I
Yeah.
think like people get afraid to do that. Like they think like I have to have all this set up before I do that, or I have to do whatever. And it's like you just have to go do it because what you think where you're at now, where you end up being, might be two different places. But you had to like at least figure out how to that journey to get there. But I think it's so cool about what you're doing. I mean, so I guess before I get to that, like, explain how the Glovelast works. Like, do you have a
Okay,
sample or anything?
I do. I do. Hold on one second. All right, so basically, this is our retail package. So
Cool.
this is the University of Florida. So we got some collegiate. We're collegiately licensed. So
That's what I want to say
basically,
too.
yeah,
Adam's a smart dude. Like honestly, there's very few brands that I know that are licensed with anybody, right?
we've
And
got the
so
PGA Tour as well. Yeah,
like like it's crazy because when I first met Adam, like he had the PGA Tour. I'm like, how in the hell does this guy get PGA Tour, right? Like you like whoa. It's not like he's a lot
yeah,
of people do like knockoffs and crap like that or like
yeah,
edit, but no. And then I start talking to him and he's like, oh yeah, I have all these colleges too. And I'm like, what the hell, man? Like how do
yeah,
you do like that's a testament to Adam because that's a hard process and it's so forward thinking because like with any a product if you can get that licensing deal it's good for protection, right?
yeah. It's good for protection for sure, and it's good for
And the
buy-in.
sales.
Right, sales are good, but it's really good for the buy-in. That's what was really good about the PGA Tour. Because
Was that your
I
first
had
licensing
the
deal?
John
Was
Deere.
PGA Tour?
PGA Tour was, yeah, yep.
I see.
And so we just got the collegiate license in December. Here's the University of Florida. This is the orange one. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And basically, after you're done playing, you take your glove, you throw it on there, and then you just hang it from your bag. That's it.
And it doesn't get all crinkly and I mean it dries out, but it's not gonna be like "Mwah." It's gonna be like
No,
it's gonna be
right.
flush and flat and like clean.
Absolutely. And it's kind of the same, a lot of people are like, oh, you got your, then just hang it from your bag.
Smart. I think
And
it's
you'll
brilliant.
always know where your glove is because if you look at your bag and you don't see your glove, kind of like me, when I had it Velcroed
What I
and it
love
fell
about
off.
what you're doing, Adam, seriously, is like it's a cool product. Number one, like it's a smart product. But two, it's like you couple that with like the licensing, and it's like now that you've kind of gotten the pattern down, like how to do it. It's like there's I honest to God, I only know about maybe two or three brands that have licensing deals, like legit licensing deals. I mean, like, right now, top of my head, G Tech has licensing. Like that's like next level business stuff, like in my mind, because it's easy
Yeah.
to just come up with something. It's not easy, but it's like you're able to design something, sell it, make a whatever it is. But then like to actually get the buy-in from the NCAA or through a college or
And
through the
people,
PGA Tour.
and they've got certain stuff they identify with. Like I've got a real, like, this is the John Deere. This is our yellow John Deere one, you know, and you don't have, I can tell you, you know, at my Arizona customers and my California customers, they're not buying my John Deere. But you know who is? My Iowa customers, my Minnesota customers, some of my Illinois customers.
Oh yeah.
They'll, and so same thing with the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Those are my Arizona, California people. They buy the and then the regular PGA Tour logo is kind of all over, the country. So it's, I appreciate you saying it was forward thinking. It was,
Big
you know,
time, big
kind
time.
of,
There's
and it
so much
doesn't come
work to
without
do
risk.
that. It's not easy because it's like it costs time and money to get that licensing deal,
Yeah,
right? It's almost like
yeah,
it's like the guy that invents something and just goes sells it without getting a patent, right? And then
right,
it's like then 2 years later everyone's copying him. He's all pissed off, right? So there's
right,
that guy. That's the
right,
first level, and then the next level is like, okay, I'm selling my stuff, I'm protected, and then the next level is the licensing. If you get a licensing deal, like that's golden. I mean,
yeah. So now, we're in the process of trying to get it into the bookstores and, all the other, the on-campus bookstores and all that stuff. And, some of the retail stuff is still COVID hangover. A lot of the big box, they still have extra retail. So hopefully we'll be in there soon, but we're getting some pro shops that are starting to carry, not only putting their own brand, because we can put any logo we want. So it's a good item as swag giveaway at a golf outing and stuff like that. You got,
tournament, yeah, I love
yeah,
that stuff.
golf tournaments. Great, great. We do a lot of that business. But local pro shops, because people, especially from like around here, they'll buy the Tennessee, they'll buy the Florida, the Alabama, the Auburn,
Yeah, you don't even
the
need to have the
LSU.
logo for like Tennessee, is for example, but you could have like a college team in that state, like like I mean, in Arizona we have like really two colleges. We have three, but I don't count one of them. But
Right.
like,
I've got Arizona and
right, so like if
two of
you
our
put that
huge
every
pros.
golf course
Yeah.
in Arizona, right? Every
Yeah.
golf pro shop, like they're gonna buy it because someone's gonna buy it. Guaranteed, someone's gonna buy it. Like those are
Yeah.
the two biggest colleges in the state, and it's like it's just brilliant. I mean, you got to pick the big boys in each state, essentially, if you're gonna do
Right.
it, right? The bigger
Right.
schools, not like some because it costs money. It's just like, so it's almost like I don't know. I think it's so smart. When I saw that, I was like, dude,
It,
how the hell is
it was a tough call because I had a lot of people giving me advice saying start with smaller schools. And I was thinking
why?
you got to start with the big schools, right? Like Alabama people love Alabama. They love that logo. So
So
why?
so one of our listeners is on the channel, like Big Cat. He's asking, he's like, what about University of Michigan or Michigan State? Do you have
Okay,
those?
so we've applied for Michigan. We're waiting to hear from Michigan, and it's a slower process, but we have applied for the University of Michigan. Michigan State is in our next batch with Georgia, USC, and Stanford. So
Yeah. Give it a year.
absolutely.
Give it a year. You're gonna have like all these colleges locked
Is he
down.
a, is Big Cat a Sparty or is he a Wolverine?
I don't know. Answer the question, Big Cat. Are you one of those? He's like, I'm neither. I like Purdue. The
Oh, he's
real
a
Big
Purdue
Tennessee.
guy.
No, I'm just totally messing around. He's not saying. He's just
I was
asking.
gonna
He's
say.
like, I'll show you the question. There's the question.
Okay.
But
Well,
but
well.
no, I mean, I
How
think
can
it's so
how
smart.
can I get Big Cat's address? Tell Big Cat to ping me on Instagram
He
at
said
Glovelast.
Wolverines here. He just said
Okay,
Wolverines.
I can't send him a Wolverine because we don't have the license, but tell him to ping me on Instagram and tell him to tell me which two he wants, and I'll send it to him for free.
Big Cat, did you hear that? Reach out to Adam on Instagram.
Pick,
Like, look up.
pick two. Make sure you tell me if you want a left hand or a right hand.
There you go. There's an offer right there. You need to do it, Big Cat. Watch, you get like 1,000 people saying they're Big Cat. So watch out. I'm gonna like do it through my Golfers Authority Instagram. Like, hi, I'm Big Cat, and you're like, shut up, Paul. Get out of here.
Big Cat, always good. The Big Cat. I
The
love
Big
that. El
Cat.
Gato Grande in Spanish, Paul.
I think it's smart. I think it's really cool that you're doing both of like to get the college licensing and no one's doing that, man. Just brilliant. Just brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. I'm excited about I'm just excited about getting into the retail. Like just the thought of I've done it with pro shops and stuff, but I haven't walked into, and Dick's Sporting Goods and Golf Galaxy carry it online. It's not the same. Fanatics carries it online. It's cool to see it right on their platforms. Um, but the day that I could walk into like a PGA Superstore and see it on a hook or see it, you know, on display, that
Yeah,
will
there's
be
gonna be like certain
that
times
will
in your
be a cool
business
feeling.
career, right, where you're gonna see that, or like a guy on the tour has it, and you're like, holy shit, like, right,
Right.
you're gonna see it on some picture, like you're like, wait a minute, is that my product? Like,
Right.
like I think those are like the little things in life where you're like, it's kind of like
I
you make
went
your
nuts
first
last
dollar
year.
on the internet.
I was in Hilton Head last year and I saw somebody with one hanging on their back. It was awesome. And then I was playing golf. I'm gonna say it was right before it kind of got cold here. So kind of like late October, maybe. Playing some golf, and guy has it hanging from his bag. We were trying to finish up the round. He was on the 18th tee box, and we came up. We got done on 17, and we pull up, and it was a threesome, and we had three. And he was like, "Hey, man, you guys want to finish up with us? We're trying to beat the daylight kind of thing." And I walk up, I get out of my cart, and I see it on one, and I said, "Hey, which one of you guys, which one of you guys has this?" I'm like, "What is this?" And the guy goes, "Oh man, that's Glovelast. I bought it on Amazon a couple of weeks ago. It's pretty cool, man. You put your glove on it, it keeps it fresh." And I'm like, "Oh, you like the product, huh?" He said, "Yeah." And my buddy goes, he invented it. And he's like, oh, no way. And he's like, no, really, look at his bag, and I've got like
Cool.
5 of them. And I always keep them in my bag. So I was giving them away like candy. And that was pretty cool. That was cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think Glovelast is cool as hell. It's a cool invention. I think it's cool that like you've grown it to where it is in such a short amount of time and you already have licensing deals. Like it's kind of an endless product because it's such a big piece of real estate that people can just see and be like, oh, it's Tennessee. Like the guy from Tennessee would see it, like, oh yeah, I want that, or the Gator, or like whatever. And I think it's
Yeah.
smart because it's just another way of people identifying like who they are, right?
Yeah.
And it's a functional product that's really cool. So I think I said I liked it a year ago, and I like you, so I think it's cool.
Oh, man.
What
I appreciate that.
Where can people find Glovelast? That's my
So
last
we
question
are,
for you.
yeah. So just at Glovelast, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at Glovelast, and our e-commerce site is glovelastgolf.com. And we also have, our products are listed on Amazon. You can find us on Fanatics, and you're obviously yours, Golf Legion. So
That's not
we
the name of my
have
brand, but it's okay.
no
I mean, it's Legion Golf, bro.
Legion
But that's
Golf.
okay. Adam's not allowed back on the
I'm
show.
dyslexic. Can you
I'm
cut
from
me some
Last
slack?
Glove. You try out Last Glove. Last Glove's the best.
That's
It's the
good.
last
That's
glove you're ever
good.
gonna buy. Um,
So yeah, but really, we're always looking for more followers. People that follow us. We do stuff all the time during different events. We'll be doing a big thing on the Masters, like just giveaways.
ooh,
Like you don't even have to,
yeah,
follow us and share stuff. And we're trying to do it like you're doing it. Just run fun stuff, have cool, engaging stuff, give some
yeah,
product
fun
away,
stuff. That's
get
all
it
that
out
matters.
there, have people use it. But you can find us anywhere just at Glovelast.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you being here today. I appreciate the friendship we've made over the last year.
Oh man, I
You guys
appreciate
gotta
you.
support Adam. It's
Awesome.
really cool what he's doing. He's a good dude, as you can tell. And be sure to check out Last Glove. I mean, glovelast.com.
Oh
And
man,
I will
you're
just
gonna
kidding
rip
with
the
you.
dyslexic
You can tell
guy.
we're friends. I can talk crap.
You rip the
Um,
dyslexic guy. That's not even dyslexia when you say something backwards, right?
I'm just
There's
messing with
another
you. I
word.
could care less.
There's
I
another
think it's
word
funny.
for it though, isn't there?
I don't know. You guy who went to Princeton, not me.
I didn't
Um,
go to Princeton. I'm a state school
oh,
guy. I
you've been to Princeton
I
more times
coached
than I
there.
have been.
Not much rubbed
Uh,
off at Princeton. Trust me. Not much.
that's funny. But yeah, Adam's a great dude. You guys gotta check it out. And support him, support what they're doing at Glovelast. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Appreciate you.